important to have receipts for God, because when you have receipts for God, it then brings his word to life. Real tangible situations and circumstances in your life that can now make that word real in your life ignite your fire. That is what grows your faith. That is what grows your trust in God. Hey, guys. I know for a little while now, I've been telling you guys that the Lord has been pressing it upon my heart to do this series on no receipts equals no intimate relationship. But I got in my head a little bit and waited way too long to start it. So I've decided to be obedient. But before I jump in, I think it's best that I tell you who I am and what kind of, signifies me to be able to speak about this. I don't even know if that's a word. But anyways, so my name is Destiny Thomas. I'm an author, a podcast host, a Realizing Destiny podcast. I'm a prayer and discernment coach. I'm a motivational speaker, a mom of a 5-year-old now. He just turned 5, wife, and I'm actually expecting my second son. So very exciting. But most of my clients and closest friends know me as the Prayerpist. And that is because I specialize in conducting one-on-one online sessions, prayer sessions actually, that are held in a therapy-like setting for the strong friend, leader, kingdom entrepreneur, where they can come and gain clarity on how to identify obstacles, live in purpose, and be confident operating in their own lane, right? Now, when we have these sessions, they come and they learn tools to remove barriers and identify obstacles, preventing them from discerning God's voice. So we really focus on building their relationship with God, building their prayer life or strengthening their prayer life with God, and really sharing a 6-step process that God shared with me through my journey of infertility, of how to really hear from him, how to have instruction, direction, and clarity from him. So that's who I am. And at the end of every episode of this series, I will also be sharing a testimonial from someone who has had a session with me, or someone who has been a part of my private access retreat, or someone who has been a part of my 4-week purpose-filled prayer course, so that you guys can get a little bit more detail of not just my perspective or point of view from prayer, but what these people specifically have learned or are learning on their journey with me as their Prayerpist. But either way, we're not here for that. We're here about the series, No Receipts Equals No Intimate Relationship. Now, a lot of people were like, why won't you just make the title No Receipts Equals No Relationship? But I strongly believe that you can have a relationship with God and it's just stale, is what I like to call it, or very surface level. So you can even pray and God can answer a prayer for you and you see a blessing or a breakthrough. But in order for you to see big manifestation, an actual change in your relationship with God and closeness, it has to be intimate. And the only way to really get to that intimate level, I have found, is from having receipts, right? So in the entrepreneurial field that I am in, I don't want to work with anyone that does not have receipts. And unfortunately, but fortunately, it's the same with God. We can say all day, every day that we trust God, that we believe God, that we know he is who he says he is, that we know he's going to do great and mighty things in our lives, that he's going to bless us. But if we're really truly honest with ourselves, if we have not ever seen God bless us, other than waking us up in the morning, it's really hard to believe that someone has your best interest at heart, that you can't see, that you can't feel, and for the most part, that you can't hear, because a lot of my clients, until we've worked together, haven't heard from God or aren't confident that it's God they're hearing. So the first episode, I'm not going to go into quite a bit of detail or the actual no receipts equals no relationship. I wanted to kind of make this first episode real calm, cool, collective, and chill, but really focus on why I'm doing this series, why God pressed it upon my heart, why I feel like he's calling me to do it. So that's what the first episode is going to be on. The good thing is I am incorporating this with my podcast, Realizing Destiny. So as of March, you will see this series have guests come on who share their receipts that they have from God that just changed their relationship, that made him real in their lives. So I'm really excited about that, to see who God put places on my heart to come up here and share with you guys, what I'll learn from what they have to share, and even what I will learn from what he's having me share. So, why am I doing this series, or why do I feel like God pressed it upon my heart to do this series? So, as I said, I'm a prayer and discernment coach known as the Prayerpist. So, I work with hundreds of people every single year, and we focus on, how do you hear from God? How can I strengthen my relationship with God? How do I know I'm living in my purpose? How do I know who I am, what my identity is, right? But one of the things that have came up very recently in quite a few of my sessions with my clients, realized a couple of them have reached what I like to call this brick wall. And when you reach a brick wall, it's when you start to get really frustrated because you feel like, God, you've made these promises to me, or you've told me you would do these things, but I don't see them. I still see things that you're doing around me and maybe for people near and close to me, but I don't see you moving in my actual life. And so when I worked with these particular clients and really dug really deep, and I asked them, where are your receipts for God? What's the last tangible thing that you asked God for that He came through for you for, right? When's the last time you asked God to help you get a job and He helped you? Like, where are your receipts from God? And they had none. They were like, you know what? I realized that my receipts are attached to other people. So one of my clients, he said that, of course, he had been praying to God that his marriage would get better and the communication in his marriage would get better. And he saw changes in the marriage. However, his wife was also praying for this. So when it came to things that he prayed to God about or for in his own personal life or in his own intimate things, he wasn't seeing change, but things where he maybe collaborated in prayer with someone else about, he saw them. So he couldn't confidently say that God was answering his prayers and wasn't just answering theirs. Not only that, but the other person had actual other prayers in their individual separate life that God answered for that person. God started pressing upon my heart to really share with his people and to share with, my people, the importance of trying God, which are your receipts, right? The only way that you can actually get receipts for God is by trying Him, by saying, I heard God tell me to do this. Let me try Him and see if it works, right? I always say in a real life relationship, if I met someone, when I met my husband, I couldn't truly trust him because I didn't know him. But the way that I built my trust in him, the way that I built loyalty with him and different things like that, and believe that he was really who he was saying he was by giving him the opportunity by trying him. So if he said, hey, Destiny or Bay, whatever he's calling me back then, when I go on my lunch break, I'm going to call you. And he went on his lunch break and called me, or he didn't get to take a lunch break. He reached out to me and said, hey, I wasn't able to take a break, but I just want to let you know I didn't forget about you, right? So me trying him and him showing me that he was who he was saying he was. Same thing with God. So God, for me, for instance, God told me in October 2017 to quit my corporate job after 10 years. And he said, if you do this, if you quit your corporate job and begin to go live on Facebook and pray for people, I will then reveal to you your purpose. So I had an option, two options to be quite honest. One option was to believe God and try it. Or the other was to say, this is a bit extreme. I don't want to quit my job. This doesn't make sense. It sounds crazy, and not do it. But I made the decision because at that particular moment in my life, I was tired. I was fed up of doing things my way. And I really wanted God to move. I really wanted to live in purpose and really wanted to fulfill what I believed God was calling me here on earth to do. And the only way I could get there was by following what he said I needed to follow to achieve purpose. And that's what happened. I quit my corporate job. It didn't make sense. It was crazy. But I began to go live on Facebook and pray for people. And from that, people started reaching out, asking me, did I coach them? How did I hear God so clearly? How did I know things about their personal life that I really shouldn't have known because I didn't know them? They were all over the world. And I went before God and asked him if that's what he wanted me to do, if he wanted me to teach people how I was able to hear him so clearly, and he gave me the green light, right? And that is where the Prayerpist started. That's where my retreats came from and everything else that I do now. I want to share my very first real receipt that I got from God. And the receipt that really carries me through, or carried me through before I got the plethora of receipts that I have for God now. Most people who've been following me for a little while, know my main receipt as my infertility journey, right? When I was struggling with infertility for 3.5 years, and the Lord gave me my first son, KJ, who's actually behind here. Um, so that was one of my larger receipts for God, but it actually started quite a few moons ago, years ago, when I was a teenager. So my very first receipt from God was when I challenged God, right? So what happened was I've been in church since I was about 7, 8 years old. Me and my father were no longer a part of each other's lives ever since the age of 7 or 8 for me. And I was around 14 years old. And I would see in church that when people would talk about God or think about God or sing songs to God, they would cry and they would have all of these emotions and just fall out in the spirit or just different things like that. And I've always been very analytical, a very, not in a good way, a very hard thinker. So I said to myself, God, that is great that they have so much moved emotions when they think about you. But in order for me to serve you in a real intimate way, God, I have to know that you're real for myself. And for me, being 14 years old, 14, 15 years old, the thing that I wanted the most at that particular time is the relationship with my father back. I wanted my father back in my life. So I said, God, if you're really real, I challenge you to reconnect my father and myself by my 16th birthday. And I was very specific with God. And I think that's where we, don't see what we want to see because we're very vague with God. God, your will be done, right? That's going to happen regardless, but God is very clear in his word about him wanting to give us our wants, needs, and the desires of our hearts, meaning we have to know what it is that we want first, right? So I was very specific with God, and I just said, God, if you're really real, if you are who you say you are, or if you are who they say you are, if you are who I read about that you are, I challenge you to reconnect my father and myself by my 16th birthday. So it's very specific. And in that moment when I was in church, I remember this like it was yesterday. I was in church and I was praying and I had my eyes closed and I had my hands raised. And I heard a very still voice in that very moment say, I'm going to do it. I'll do it. Right. So in that moment, it taught me a couple of things. It showed me that if this actually happened, I heard from God. Right. But if it actually happened, God is real. God loved me enough to jump through the hoops for me. Right. Because I was asking him to do something that was really extreme to a 15-year-old or 14-year-old, right? And guys, I am so serious that one day I had came from middle school. I believe I was I think it was in high school. Either way, I came from school, and at the time, my mom had a house phone for us, or me and my brother, and a house phone for the house, right? So the only people who really had my house phone number were my friends and my brother's friends, right? And so I came home and I would always take a nap after school. School wore me out, okay? Wore me out. But I would take a nap from school and my phone began to ring and I answered the phone half asleep. And it was this deep voice on the phone, which kind of startled me because once again, the only people who called that phone line were my friends and my brother's friends. And I'm the oldest, so his friends are younger than me, so they sound way younger than me. And the person on the other phone said, hello, may I speak to Destiny? So they're calling for me, right? And I said, this is her, but who is this? And the other person on the line said, this is your father, right? And I sat up in the bed and I was like, my woo, 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 woo. And he said, this is your father. And he then, we finished our conversation and I asked all the questions I felt necessary to ask at that time. And he talked to my mom. And that summer, like right around my 16th birthday, that summer, we went to Pennsylvania, which is where I'm originally born and from. And I was able to meet my father. I went to my uncle's wedding, his brother. And I met my father. And from that very moment on, me and my father have reconnected. And we have one of the closest relationships ever. Actually, that's him right there, dancing with me at my wedding. And so that was when God became real to me, right? And I had receipts and I have receipts. So anytime as I go on this journey with God, and it gets hard, right? Or I feel like I'm asking God for something that he already has confirmed to me that he will do, but I'm not seeing it. I am then reminded of that very moment when I turned 16, or even when I even asked, right? And he came through, right? And it then resonates for me what God's word says, that his word doesn't come back void, right? So that is why it is very important to have receipts for God, because when you have receipts for God, it then brings his word to life in your life, right? It's so easy to just read the Bible and say, oh, I'm going to believe because this is what these words say. But when you have actual, real, tangible situations and circumstances in your life that can now make that word real in your life, then that is what ignites your fire. That is what grows your faith. That is what grows your trust in God, right? So that is my first real ever receipt that I have for God, where I prayed for something, I heard him tell me he was going to do it, and he actually did it. So as I grew up and there were different situations and circumstances where I prayed about and I asked God to come through for, when he would delay, when there would be a delay, whether it was on him or me, most of the time it's me, right? I would then be reminded of that receipt, and it carried me on until I got another one and another one and another one. And now I have, like I said, a plethora of them, right? I'm now carrying my second child after having my first child, and then endometriosis growing back, and my doctor saying that I would probably never have another child, right? So I have even a bigger receipt now, right? One that's growing and living right now while I'm talking. So like I said a little bit earlier, the Lord really pressed it upon my heart to bring us in remembrance of the importance of trying God. And trying God is just an easy, simple way of saying having receipts for how good he is. I'm going to come on here once a week, preferably on Mondays, and share with you guys the receipts that have led to an intimate relationship with God, and why it is so important to have the receipts to build a stronger, more intimate relationship with God. I really, really want this series to be interactive, to really hear the perspective of other people, also because I will use you guys' comments to reach out to people and see if they are actually open to being a special guest. So if you guys can go ahead and write in the comments a receipt that you yourself have for God. Like this video, share this video, and of course subscribe so you can be a part of the whole series, No Receipts Equals No Intimate Relationship. I truly hope this particular video blessed you, and it really encouraged you to try God yourself. Like I said, it's so important to have receipts for God for yourself, so that you know when things happen, when storms, trials, and tribulations come, as they will. God never promised us that they would not come. He promised us that we would be victorious. So that you will know for a fact that you have receipts where he's already proven himself, right? And once you know without a shadow of a doubt that God has proven that he loves you, that God has proven that he's going to come through for you, that he's proven that he's going to protect you or provide for you, you just have this peace of mind and this comfort that no human being on this earth can give you. So like I said, go ahead, subscribe, press the little notification bell so you can be the first to know when I drop the next episode. And please, please, please put in the comments your receipts that you yourself have for God. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time.
Hi, my name is Nandy, and I wanted to just give a quick praise report about Prayerpy and Destiny Services. So I had my first session about a week ago, and it was amazing. It started out as a 30-minute session that went way beyond our looking for some answers or need to just release and need to hear the voice of God. I would really recommend taking a Prayerpy session or several.